I have a question. Who put out that horrible, terrible, bad rumor that y'all broke up? Who did that?
Your sister.
Tony Braxton.
Right. I don't believe they got married. I think that's a lie. The reason why I think it's a lie because Stella not gonna do nothing without Slim being there or Slim knowing something about it.
Toni Braxton finally broke her silence, and when she did, it shattered every fairy tale people built around her in Birdman. For years, their relationship confused everyone. How does a woman like Toni end up with a cash money kingpin? But behind the diamonds, private jets, and industry power was something dark, something heavy. The whispers weren't just gossip anymore. Rumors claimed Cash Money's empire was built on toxic energy, even death rituals, and now people believe Birdman is slowly destroying himself with the same force. Toni didn't leave because love faded, she left because she saw what power becomes when it turns evil. Their secret marriage wasn't just internet noise, it was real enough to trigger paperwork, leaks, and panic. Then, just 2 weeks later, everything collapsed. Toni rushed online, called it all cap, and tried to erase the marriage like it never existed. That wasn't confusion, that was survival. And while fans argued, artists like Juvenile kept warning us that something strange was happening behind Cash Money's closed doors. Weird meetings. Questionable decisions. Long before Toni walked away, the signs were already there.
You know what was weird to me when I got the Cash Money? It was the weirdest thing. I knew they had all these artists on the label.
Right.
So I get to the label, and then all of a sudden, they let all the artists go, all the other artists go.
Toni finally came face to face with the other side of Birdman's world, and she knew instantly this wasn't a fight she could win by staying. This was a woman who survived lupus, heart surgery, and brushes with death. But this felt darker. Different. So she did what survivors do. She backed away. She wiped her socials clean. She chose her health, her voice, her stage. While Toni reclaimed her light, Birdman's world started dimming. Cameras caught him drifting off under bright stage lights, slurring, nodding, fading mid-moment. Clips from the Hot Boys reunion tour exploded online. Some whispered seizures. Others said relapse. The image was haunting, the stunner looking like the power finally drained out. His circle rushed to shut it down, calling it fatigue, bad angles, a teleprompter issue. Maybe. But it's hard to unsee a man collapsing while the music keeps playing, especially when so many connected to that empire already lost their spark, their freedom, or their voice. Let's be real. Toni didn't just leave a man. She escaped a system eating itself alive. For years, Cash Money's so-called rituals weren't candles or symbols, they were power, loyalty, and control. From the outside, it was a label. Inside, it moved like a closed society. Obedience before identity. Gifts with strings. Chains as reminders. Kiss the ring energy disguised as family. Fall out of line, and you faded from the story. That's the world Toni stepped into and immediately felt the warning. The silence when Birdman entered a room. The worship. The fear dressed as respect. She wasn't built for that. So she broke the routine the only way possible, she walked away. And once she did, the illusion cracked. Their secret marriage didn't last long enough to settle. Days after the ceremony, divorce papers appeared. Then disappeared. But the mid-2025 social media purge told the truth. When Birdman went public, accusing Toni of cashing in and chasing a $160 million payout, the culture split overnight. R&B media saw manipulation. Trap circles doubled down on his boss image. Money stayed intact, but goodwill didn't. Toni took hits too. Old bankruptcy talk resurfaced. Deals slowed. But her music surged back into rotation, and her voice, especially around women and financial independence, grew louder. Cash Money survived, but fractured. Collaborations froze. Alliances broke. Birdman kept control, but the respect was gone. And the business? That was always the coldest ritual of all. Advances that never fully landed. Contracts built to trap. Royalties hidden. Artists indebted. From Tyga to Wayne, the pattern stayed the same: flash now, control forever. In the end, Tony chose peace over power. Birdman chose control over evolution. And once you walked away, the empire didn't fall overnight, but it started showing the cracks.
Talk about the guy that don't pay the producers to the last minute. Oh, let me stop. I love Birdman.
Early negotiators like Windy Day never saw the money they were promised. And Birdman's cold-blooded line, "Sue me. When I have to pay you, you'll get paid," became legend in the industry. Universal eventually stepped in, covering Cash Money's debts in exchange for deeper distribution control, quietly turning unpaid artist earnings into corporate leverage. That's how insiders say ghost royalties were born. Money meant for artists rerouted upward, invisible to fans but powerful enough to keep the system running. Loyalty got you limbos, jewelry, front row love. Disobedience got you late checks, shelved albums, or silent exile. The helicopters, mansions, and Stunna Island fantasy kept the myth alive, but by 2025, insiders were calling Cash Money a medieval kingdom. Birdman and Slim ruled all, while younger signees pledged near lifelong loyalty with little real power. These weren't mystical rituals. They were habits decades old, using money as a weapon to protect the throne. That's when the biggest names started moving quietly behind Birdman's back. The tension was boiling in 2025. Everyone had an agenda. Lil Wayne stopped pretending. During the Hot Boys reunion tour, Wayne and the crew walked off stage mid-speech while Birdman was hyping the crowd. Viral instantly. Weeks earlier at Lil Louisiana Fest, Wayne cut Birdman off mid-intro, not even letting him finish a tribute to his own mother. Fans knew exactly what that meant. The forgiveness from 2018 was done. Old wounds reopened. Wayne was reclaiming his lane. Juvenile played it smarter. Still loyal, but not blind. On the Cash Money Millionaire's 30th anniversary tour, he publicly called out Birdman's booking team for underpaying or sidelining Turk over money disputes. He admitted it put him in an impossible position: loyalty versus doing right by his people. By summer, he shifted focus to new music and let actions speak louder than drama. Then there's Drake. No public shots. Just chess. His 2025 lawsuit against Universal, Birdman's distribution lifeline, wasn't emotional, it was strategic. Drake was clearly outgrowing the Cash Money orbit, positioning himself for independence while keeping ties only when it benefited him. Nicki Minaj stayed silent but sharp. Birdman bragged about billions made off Wayne, Drake, and Nicki, claiming everyone was paid fairly. Nicki never confirmed, never denied. She moved through her own imprint lanes, untouched by the chaos. Respect intact. Heat avoided. By the end of 2025, Birdman's big three weren't really his anymore. Wayne's walk-offs. Juvenile's careful distance. Drake's legal maneuvers. Nicki's quiet separation. Loyalty had limits, and the artists were finally taking control of their narratives. Behind the scenes, whispers turned into strategy: lawsuits, exits, new alliances. Anyone watching knew the next move could flip Cash Money upside down. And the chaos didn't stay hidden. By 2025, Cash Money studios and tours became ground zero for tension. Leaks, cancelled shows, last-minute lineup changes. Albums shelved overnight. Studio blowups caught on Mike Wayne arguing with Birdman over control, royalties, and creative direction. Drake and Nicki recorded remotely, avoiding Birdman-controlled rooms altogether. A clear message. On tour, it was worse. Shows scrapped at the last minute. Missed arrivals. On-stage tension you could feel from the crowd. Wayne cutting Birdman off mid-speech in front of thousands wasn't just disrespect, it was a declaration. Sponsors noticed. Brands pulled back. But fans? They couldn't look away. Every gesture, every post, every silence became a signal. That was Cash Money in 2025, not just a label, but a spectacle. A high-stakes game of power, loyalty, and control playing out in real time. And the music kept playing while the empire cracked.